Overpaying for anything sucks, especially socks, so why pay $45 for a single pair of grip socks when you can spend less than half? Pure Grip Socks Pro feature our best materials for optimal fit, moisture wicking, and performance at a fair price, just $16.99 a pair at puregripsocks.com.
These days, whenever a new football boot comes out, it's pretty much expected that it's going to be introduced alongside new performance-enhancing technologies. But what if I told you that some of these new technologies aren't as new as they might appear? Because inside this retro-themed 2001 Alpha Project box is a pair of football boots that pays tribute to the first pair of Mercurials to feature Air Zoom technology 21 years ago. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the very cleverly named Retro Special Edition Nike Air Zoom Mercurial Vapor 15 Elite, featuring graphics and colors to make them look like the Air Zoom Mercurials that came out back in 2001, where, like I mentioned, that was the very first football boot to feature Air Zoom tech in the sole plate, not what they put out this year in 2022. And what's even cooler is the $250 retail price, which is by no means expensive, but given how so many brands are releasing colorway variations and charging a gigantic premium, it's pretty cool that you can get something this unique for the same price as any other colorway of the Vapor 15. Which is exactly what this is. There is no difference in terms of fit, feel, or performance compared to any of the other regular Vapor 15 Elites. However, there are some really cool details here that I want to go over in today's video and kind of talk about the history of Air Zoom technology in the Mercurial series in general. So if you're interested in learning more, including how they fit and feel on feet, please stick around. And if you are interested in a pair for yourself, you can actually pick these up below their normal retail price by way of some exclusive SR4U coupon codes by checking out the first link down below. And really quickly, if you enjoy the content, drop a like on the video and make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you haven't already, so you don't miss out on my reviews of all the latest football boots of 2022. Also, check out the bag these come with. Pretty cool. 5 out of 6 dots. So, quick history lesson, the Nike Alpha Project. This is something that was launched in the very early 2000s with the original Air Zoom Mercurial coming out in 2001. It was basically Nike trying to innovate as much as possible across 5 different sports, football boots being included. There was also an Alpha Project variation of the Air Zoom T90, another football boot to incorporate Air Zoom tech. Again, it's being presented this year as this all new tech in the Mercurial, but we've seen it several times in the past, most similar to this implementation coming 21 years ago in the form of the Air Zoom VT. VT standing for variable traction. I actually have an OG pair. Unfortunately, I don't have them on hand right now, and that's because I've lent them out to my buddy J Mike from Unisport, who I do the Boot Nerds podcast with, and unfortunately I just don't have them back yet, and I figured it wasn't worth waiting. Regardless of all that, it's crazy to think that 21 years ago, Nike would implement a concept that would actually work in a modern day football boot, where if you've watched any of my content on the Vapor 15 or Superfly 9 Elite, I really feel like this 3/4 length 4-foot mounted zoom unit is truly one of the most impressive features I've ever tried in a pair of football boots. And if you compare it to the OG, the technology just wasn't as advanced. The zoom unit itself was much thicker, it was much squishier, and honestly, just the plastics in the sole plate, the sole plate technology in general, just wasn't up to par back then compared to what we have now. It also made for a much heavier, clunkier football boot, and obviously what was happening with the upper there, again, just isn't up to today's standards. However, what I think they've done here in this tribute variation of the Vapor 15 Elite is make something that is significantly better looking. I really think the original Match Mercurial or Air Zoom Mercurial variant is not the best looking football boot. And of course, what's cool about this colorway in particular is that it is kind of representative, or at least almost like a reverse colorway of what Nike currently have for their World Cup pack, and that you have this kind of metallic copper and then this bluish black. The original is actually just solid black, but they've added a little bit of that purpley blue kind of color changing effect to the upper that relates it a little bit more to their current World Cup pack, and honestly, it just looks super premium. You also notice a lot of that kind of glossy grip texturing that'd be found on the original in the form of graphics here on the upper of this Vaporposit Plus material, the old school Air Zoom branding there on the lateral side, which I think looks super cool, and then of course the metallic copper here in the toe, as well as on the heel with the 5 dots that represent the Alpha project. I also love the super minimal Nike branding that you're gonna find on this boot, in that there's just a small white Nike swoosh on the heel on both the lateral and medial side. It just gives this such a clean and sleek design. And then the sole plate has a little bit of a wearable finish, kind of having that oil slick color changing effect in the heel. And then in the forefoot, they actually left the Zoom unit window completely clear, probably giving us our best look from the underside of the Zoom unit in the new Mercurials of any colorway so far. And honestly, I just think it's really fitting, and again, pretty accurate to what was found on the OG. With the final detail being the insole, where again, it kind of has the graphics from the original, something that's actually pretty reminiscent to the heel graphic on the Vapor 3, and then of course the 5 Alpha project dots in the heel highlighted in white. On feet, while looks are purely subjective, I love the retro vibes that these have, but at the same time, the modern silhouette of the Vapor 15 compared to what Nike had on offer 21 years ago just makes this graphic look incredible. I love the simplicity of the design and the fact that they're black from a distance, but then have this really cool kind of blue and purple color changing effect up close. It's just very, very attractive in my opinion. As far as fit and feel is concerned, however, exactly the same as every other Vapor 15 Elite, so no difference there. Really snug fitting as you'd expect from a pair of Mercurials. If you've worn Mercs in the last 4 or 5 years, you kind of know what to expect here, with of course the main difference being the introduction of that Zoom unit underneath your foot, which really does have this cool bouncy cushion to it. I don't necessarily think that it enhances performance, but from a comfort perspective, it's a tremendous amount of underfoot protection that you otherwise won't find in any other football boot. Obviously, very secure, super responsive like you get from any top-end Mercurial. From a width perspective, they definitely fit tight, but will be suitable for most people, not ideal for excessively wide feet. But again, if you've worn Mercurials recently, these should fit you just fine. And then as far as sizing is concerned, I'm wearing these in my usual size 9.5 US, and the fit and the length is perfect. So if you're looking to get a pair for yourself, just like every other Mercurial, I would strongly recommend going true to size. But that's it for this one, guys. The special edition retro Vapor 15 Elite inspired by the Air Zoom Mercurial VT. Let me know your thoughts on them down below in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.